Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimakung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter 13, Section 1 of A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second, Golden Thread.
As.
Ah.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second, Golden Thread. Charles Dickens. Chapter 13, Section 1. If Sidney Carter never shone anywhere, he certainly never shone in the house of Dr. Minute. He had been there often, during a whole year, and had always been the same moody and morose lounger there. When he cared to talk, he talked well. But the cloud of caring for nothing, which overshadowed him with such a fatal darkness, was very rarely pierced by the light within him. And yet he did care something for the streets that environed that house, and for the senseless stones that made their pavements. Many a night he vaguely and unhappily wandered there, when wine had brought no transitory gladness to him. Many a dreary daybreak revealed his solitary figure lingering there, and still lingering there when the first beams of the sun bore into strong relief removed beauties of architecture in spires of churches and lofty buildings, as perhaps the quiet time brought some sense of better things, else forgotten and unattainable, into his mind. Of late, the neglected bed in the temple court had known him more scantily than ever, and often when he had thrown himself upon it no longer than a few minutes, he had got up again, and haunted that neighbourhood, on a day in August, when Mr. had carried his delicacy into Devonshire, of goodness in them for the worst, of health for the sickliest, and of youth for the oldest. Sidney's feet still trod those stones. From being irresolute and purposeless, his feet became animated by an intention, and then, in the working out of that intention, they took him to the doctor's door. He was shown upstairs, and found Lucy at her work, alone. She had never been quite at her ease with him, and received him with some little embarrassment as he seated himself near her table. But, looking up at his face in the interchange of the first few commonplaces, she observed a change in it. "I fear you are not well, Mr. Oh, but the life I lead, Miss Manette, is not conducive to health. What is to be expected of? Oh, by, isn't it forgive me?" Looking gently at him again, she was surprised and saddened to see that there were tears in his eyes. There were tears in his voice too, as he answered, "It is too late for that. I shall never be better than I am. I shall sink lower." He leaned an elbow on her table, and covered his eyes with his hand. The table trembled in the silence that followed. She had never seen him soften, and was much distressed. He knew her to be so, without looking at her, and said, "Pray forgive me, Miss Manette. I break down before the knowledge of what I want to say to you. If it will do you any good, Mr. Carton, if it would make you happier." He unshaded his face after a little while, and spoke steadily. Don't be afraid to hear me. Don't shrink from anything I say. I am like one who died young. The Mr. Carton. I am sure that the best part of it might still be. I am sure that you might be much. Say of you, Miss Manette. She was pale and trembling, unlike any other that could have been holden. If it had been possible, Miss Manette, that he could have returned the love of the men you see before you are so flung away, wasted, drunken, day and hour, in spite of his happiness, that he would bring you to misery, bring you to sorrow and repentance, lie to you, disgrace you, pull you down with him. I know very well that you can have no tenderness for me. I asked for none. Without it, can I not save you, Mr. Carton? Can I not recall you forgive me again to a better course? Can I in no way repay your confidence? I know this is a confidence, she modestly said, after a little hesitation, and in earnest tears. I know you would say this to no one else. Can I turn it to no good account for yourself, Mr. He shook his head. Tenan. Well, Miss Manette. Tenan. If you will hear me through a very little more, all you can ever do for me is done. I wish you to know that you have been the last dream of my soul, with your father, and of this home made such a home by you, has stirred old shadows that I thought had died out of me. Since I knew you, I have been troubled by a remorse that I thought would never reproach me again, and have heard whispers from old voices impelling me upward, that I thought were silent forever. I have had informed ideas of striving afresh, beginning anew, shaking off sloth and sensuality, and fighting out the abandoned fight. A dream, all a dream, that ends in nothing, and leaves the sleeper where he lay down. Will nothing of it remain? And Mr. Carton, think again. The Miss Manette. All through it, I have known myself to be quite undeserving, and yet I have had the weakness, and have still the weakness, to wish you to know with what a sudden mastery you kindled me, heap of wishes that I am, into fire, however, inseparable in its nature from myself, quickening nothing, lighting nothing, doing no service, since it is my misfortune, Mr. Carton. Don't say that, Miss Manette, for you would have reclaimed me, if anything could, since the state of your mind that you describe. At all events, attributable to some influence of mine thighs is what I mean. If I can make it plain, can I use no influence to serve you? Have I no powerful good with you? The utmost good that I am capable of now, Miss Manette. I have come here to realize. Let me carry through the rest of my misdirected life the remembrance that I open my heart to you, last of all the world, which I entreated you to believe. Again and again. Most fervently. With all my heart. Was capable of better things. Was to entreat me to believe it no more. Miss Manette, I have proved myself, and I know better. I distress you. I draw fast to an end. Will you let me believe, when I recall this day, that the last confidence of my life was reposed in your pure and innocent breast, and that it lies there alone? If that will be a consolation to you. Wist to. Carting, she answered, after an agitated pause. The secret is yours, not mine. Thank you. And again. He put her hand to his lips and moved towards the door. Be under no apprehension, Miss Manette, of my ever resuming this conversation by so much as a passing word. I will never refer to it again. If I were dead, that could not be surer than it is henceforth. In the hour of my death, my last of all of myself was made to you, and that my name, and faults, and miseries were gently carried in your heart. He was so unlike what he had ever shown himself to be, and it was so sad to think how much he had thrown away, and how much he every day kept down and perverted. That Lucy Manette wept mournfully for him as he stood looking back at her. Be comforted, he said. I am not worth such feeling, Miss Manette. An hour or two hence, and the low companions and low habits that I scorn but yield to, will render me less with such tears as those, than any wretch who creeps along the streets. Be comforted. But within myself, I shall always be, towards you, what I am now, though outwardly I shall be what you have heretofore seen me. The last supplication but one I make to you. I will. Mister, my last supplication of all is this, and with it, in unison, and between him and you there is an impassable space. It is useless to say it, I know, but it rises out of my soul. For you, and for any dear to you, I would do anything. Of sacrifice in it, I would embrace any sacrifice for you and for this dear to you. Try to hold me in your mind, at some quiet times, as ardent and sincere in this one thing. The time will come. The time will not be long in coming. Darling you, oh Miss Manette, when the little picture of a happy father's face looks up in yours, when you see your own bright beauty springing up and at your feet, think now and then that there is a man who would give his life. He said, farewell, said alas, God bless you, and left her. To be continued.